There's two types of states we can be in when we're having a dialogue. One is calm, second is reactive. When we're in a reactive state or going into a reactive state, we become illogical, we say things we don't mean, we jump to conclusions, and this is totally unproductive to create a good solution to our difficulties. So I'd like to share a few tips that are key to be able to resolve difficulties in a productive way. The first, and this may seem very obvious, but it's actually quite uncommon, is never to start a communication about something that's difficult is when you're not in a calm mood. It's vital that a person starts a communication when they are in a calm state and when both are actually ready for a communication. Even if one is ready and one's not ready, to choose a time and also a place where you can talk in a calm way. Dr. John Gottman, who's one of the leading scientific researchers into marriage, has shown that any communication that starts in a negative way will either get worse or remain on that same level. So if you start in a negative way, it is guaranteed that it's not going to be great. So that's the first pointer. The second pointer is if you do become reactive, is to stop and take your time out. Now, it is good to have a word or even a sign that you've pre-organized. You say, if I say this, like time out, you stop and we break, and then you have a time later on in the day or the next day where you can communicate about that in a calm way. Because when we're not calm, we're not going to be able to communicate properly. The third pointer, maybe the most important, is don't get into shaming or blaming. It's best to use words like, this is the way I feel, as opposed to you are, and to talk about the subject like dirty cups as opposed to putting the other person down, you're a mess. Now, we all have areas of vulnerability, triggers, what I call landmines. And when those are hit, then a person can go from 0 to 10 of negativity very quickly. And what's very common is that both people hit each other's buttons, and that's why things become explosive. And let's just go a little bit deeper on this point. I'll give an example. Let's take an example of Ruth and John. And because often these triggers are rooted in our development from childhood. Ruth grew up and she felt she was ignored by her family. As a result of that, she became more outspoken and more critical to get the attention she wanted. John, on the other hand, felt very criticized by his family, by his parents. And his behavior to stop that was to pull away. Now, Ruth and John met each other, went through the honeymoon stage, they fell in love with each other. But when they got into the stage 2, then Ruth didn't get her needs met, felt a little bit ignored and started getting critical. John, being criticized, was triggered like he was triggered as a child, pulled away, which made Ruth more critical. And in that way, they created a kind of explosive reaction. What Ruth needs is to calm it down, to express things gently, and that would help John to be able to come out and to be able to communicate in a better way. The fourth pointer is not to try to show that you're right, but to look for solutions. Often one person can suggest, if we do this, would that work for you so it doesn't reoccur? Otherwise, people have reoccurring arguments over and over again. The same thing occurs, same reactive behavior occurs. But if you can work out a solution, like coffee cup example, maybe we can wash our coffee cups once a day. The other person may have another pointer. But if you can work out a solution together, or even go to somebody else to help you find a solution to that problem, that could be very, very powerful.